Hey, what's up? This video is what I think about paradoxes, because I was looking at my YouTube notebook, and YouTube notebook said I had to do a video about paradoxes. So, okay, paradox. I actually don't know what the dictionary definition of paradox is. I wish I had a dictionary here in my van with me. I do not have internet where I'm right now because I'm in the supermarket parking lot. But I think paradox dictionary definition is something about along the lines of the definition of something can become the opposite definition. You know, like if you were to examine something closely enough, all of a sudden you'll realize that it's actually the opposite. And I think that's something that we should definitely pay attention to and acknowledge the fact of in the world, is that once you get too far over to something, then it turns out that you have entered a black hole and you've warp drived all the way over to the other extreme. And that's why we go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You know, we were back in the past, we went way too far into the faith aspect. Fundamentalist Christian, just bow down to Jesus Christ and Mother Mary, Virgin Mary, and then you get to go to heaven for all of eternity. Faith, until it went like, okay, blah blah, went over to the other side, and it's like, fuck that. It's all about data, raw data. There's nothing. Don't believe in anything. Just believe in the data and your science. And so now we're way over here on the data. Just believe in data. There's no such thing as soul or heaven or eternal life or anything like that, or God. It's all about the data, and then we're gonna, so it's just vacillating. But now, of course, we find a middle ground. As you get older, you kind of, as time goes by, you know, the pendulum swings, and then the swings closer, and then closer, and then it stops swinging, and it's balanced in the center. And that's why I think there's pole shifts, you know, like everything spiritual can be manifested physically. And everything, well, physical, that can be manifested spiritually. So the world, we have these pole shifts all the time. Energetically, you have the positive ions flowing into the North Pole for so many years, and then it flips South Pole, North Pole, South Pole, North Pole on a semi-regular basis. Not totally regular, actually, not regular at all, but based on something that we don't understand. But so basically, what that means for us as humans, individuals, and living in the world, and how it should affect the way that we look at the world, is that we should realize that we're always in a state of flux, and we should not become dogmatic. Different rules, like the 10 Commandments and all this stuff, you need to take into account when it was written, because a lot of people these days, atheists and stuff, they're like, fuck religion. Religion's totally fucked. If you're religion, you're an idiot and you're just a fool. Don't even talk about anything religious because in the Bible it says that, like, you know, Abraham was told to kill his son Joseph, and it says that if you have long hair, men should cut their long hair, and if you you know, you should be killed if you get your hand cut off if you're caught stealing, and all this stuff, and that's not appropriate for this day and age, therefore all religion is stupid. You know, that's a little bit too far. You need to take into account when it was written and that it was appropriate for the time. Killing people for treason and stuff was appropriate for the time back in those days, because they didn't have the means to keep people in prison. It was too expensive, and maybe people broke out of prison too much and then rejoined the army and stuff, so it was made a lot more sense just to kill the person. But now that we have the means, you know, we shouldn't be killing people. So the rules change. So we need to be constantly re-evaluating rules. But at the same time, respect the rules that we had and realize that they were there for a reason, and that they just filled up their place in time, in the past. So every single philosophy and religion we ever had in the past was perfectly appropriate for the time. Back in the days of sacrificing and making prayers for Juno and Jupiter was fine for a time, because it gave people a direction and goals to go after. But then it becomes dogmatic when people just wait, you know, with the Catholic Church and the latter day of the Catholic Church right before the Reformation, when they would just be doing rites and rituals just for the sake of doing rites and rituals, and it's just a waste of time and a waste of money, and it's just You need to cut that stuff out so people spend their time actually helping people rather than pay somebody a shitload of money just to sit there and say a prayer over and over again for nothing, you know. Yeah, constantly reevaluate stuff and change stuff up, so that we don't, because we can't be going pole shifting forever. But yeah, it is like a pole shift. But I think, you know, paradox is that we do have pole shifts in our consciousness, and we are experiencing a pole shift right now in our consciousness. Stuff that in the past, qualities that were in the past were strong qualities that ensured your survival, are now pole shifted and completely opposite, and they are going to ensure your destruction. In the past, qualities that would ensure your destruction are the very qualities that now will ensure your advancement in society. The biggest example of those is the turn the other cheek. Back before the days of Jesus Christ, turn the other cheek was like ridiculous. You don't want to turn the other cheek, because if somebody, you know, comes up to you and slaps you and says, "Get out of my face," and you turn the other cheek, everybody's going to see that and they're going to go, "Oh my God, you're weak, don't listen to him, don't talk to him." Then you get ostracized by society. So you have to, you know, back then, that's why primitive societies have this whole thing about face. You have to save face, and it's all about face. You know, if you get snubbed, you have to snub them back. And that's why, you know, our whole political system was based off that in the past, and that's why we went to so many wars. But you really had to do that in the past, because if you didn't, you're going to lose all respect. I'm going to use Chile as an example. Chile definitely is a more primitive society than America. And one reason that I need to put this example, you know, might piss people off, but, and not just Chile, but like high school kids, you know, primitive high school kids are more primitive minded than adults. Like a tool, you know, that's like, if you call somebody a tool in high school, that's not bad. I mean, that's a bad thing to say. But a tool as an adult would actually be a good person. A tool is somebody who's easily manipulatable, malleable, and they're always eager to please other people. But in high school, if you're always eager to please other people, and you're always, you know, and it's easy to get you to do stuff, then you're a tool, and nobody's going to want to be your friend, because because it means that you have no self-esteem. You're just bowing down to other people, and you just want to. So then you're not going to have any friends. You're not going to get anywhere. But if you're an adult and you're in a bunch of system with a bunch of adults working and doing stuff, and you're that kind of a person, and you're eager to please, and you're always giving people what they want, you know, doing what they tell you to do and cooperating, then people are going to love you, and they're all going to want to work with you. So that's the pole shift. And well, actually, like, yeah, the reason I brought up Chile is like huevón. A huevón is like, it's this word that people use for everything, but huevón also means tool. Like you know, that guy, he's easily manipulatable. Like a tool, an actual direct translation for tool in Chile would be huevón. But it's also a direct translation for a lot of things. But I'm just bringing it up because my wife used to use that word a lot. Like, oh, that guy's a huevón. Like he's a tool. He's easily manipulatable. He's too nice. And so, yeah, being too nice in the past was bad, but now it's good. Pole shift. And that's the turning the other think thing. Now, if you're like a person and somebody's like, "Hey, fuck you, man, you're a dick, you're a loser, fuck you," and then you're just like, all right, whatever, and then you take off, then other people see you do that, they're gonna be like, "Oh, cool, man, you didn't, your ego wasn't damaged, you don't have ego problems, and you have thick skin, you can take a insult and you can keep on living your life and not get upset." Turn the other cheek. Now it's respectable, and it's a strong. Whereas if you're gonna be like, someone's gonna be like up the street, on the street, you know, or somebody be a dick to you, "Hey, motherfucker, you suck, you douchebag, faggot, motherfucker," you know, and then you're like, "Hey, what, fuck you, come on," and then you fight, and then it's like, people can be like, "Those idiots, they were fighting because they were like talking trash to each other, those like stupid kids," you know. It's that whole pole shift. Another pole shift, and right now that we're experiencing is discretion. But in the past, keeping secrets and being discretionate was a trait that was going to get you advanced, because people are always conniving, you know, and having plans against each other, and and it all depended on the secrets. You had to, like, hold your cards close to your chest until the last minute to strike, and then you take them, out, and all this kind of stuff, and only tell the certain secrets for the new trade routes or the new invention or whatever to the people who matter, so that you can get your upper hand on the other guys. But now doing that kind of stuff isn't good, because people are sophisticated, advanced enough right now to actually be able to give credit where credit is due. If somebody invents something, then everybody's going to know where it came from, because the educational or the networking is so tightly knit that whoever like comes up with an invention or something and isn't discretionate is actually out there spewing what they say and what they know and sharing and all that kind of stuff. It actually it comes back to them, rather than kind of getting dissipated out and then robbed by somebody else, and then they're kind of left high and dry. People these days, if somebody's secretive, they're known as a kind of like a sneaky person, somebody who only looks out for themselves, somebody who's boring, or you can't trust them, as opposed to somebody who's out there and they talking and giving up all the information. They're seen as somebody with like a lot of personality, and they're entertaining to be around, and you want to be around them. So yeah, the age of secrets is over. It's not completely over. I mean, we're like, I think, in the process of transitioning right now, but that's another one. What's another one? There was another really good one, another really good example of pole shift. Well, I drew a blank. If I remember it, I guess I'll do a second part. But the basic point of the matter is that we live in a world of paradox, and we always have to be constantly, especially now, with all the new inventions and stuff that's coming on. Every single invention changes the rules. And we're having so many inventions that we're having so many rules being changed about everything. So we need to constantly be analyzing all of the social taboos and social rules and etiquette and all this kind of stuff over and over and over and over again. Like an example is this: back when they were inventing the United States of America and they were writing the Constitution, it was the first democracy in the world since the time of the Greeks. So it was a prototype. Nobody even knew if it was going to be possible, because there was no democracy. It was all kingdoms and stuff back then. And so they wrote a constitution, and Thomas Jefferson was like, yeah, we're going to need to rewrite the Constitution every 20 years. And that ended up not being such a good idea, because then, if you get a generation in there that's not so right, they could rewrite it and turn it back into a monarchy or whatever. But it is kind of true. Like, we do need to be reevaluating stuff. Luckily, the people who wrote the Constitution understood what freedom is, and so they put that right on the top: freedom of speech, freedom to redress your grievances with the government, and gather, freedom of people to gather, which people don't respect anymore. Yeah, anybody who's out there reevaluating, like if you're out there and you're here, here's the other example I wanted to say. Like, back in the past, if you were a free thinker, then that was bad. It was not good to be a free thinker, because it meant you were crazy. There's actually a saying, like, if you're poor and you're eccentric, that just means you're crazy. But if you're rich and you're different, that just means you're eccentric, and that's kind of like a compliment. And it's kind of, so it's similar now. Like, in the past, if you were different, then you were just crazy, and you weren't going, because I mean, and you probably were crazy, because you just weren't going to advance that way. You can't like run into a room full of warriors who are about to attack the next town over and be like, I have a better idea. Let's just give them books. Let's give them Bibles and tell them to be nice to us. Yay! And then we'll take down the walls and we'll make churches out of them. People be like, you're fucking crazy. Get the hell out of here, But now if you're a free thinker and you think out of the box, that's actually a good thing because all the rules are changing. So if you're out here and you're like talking about stuff like, yeah, we shouldn't have the like shit that's really out there. Like we shouldn't have the president appointing all of these people like this guy and that guy. We should be voting him in, and we shouldn't. Or actually, the kind of stuff that I talk about. I guess I'm tooting my own horn here. But if you're like, yeah, we should be living in our vans, and we should be running on the treadmill and doing work on a computer at the same time. Like that's actually a cool thing to do. Rather, that's actually means that you're smarter than the guy who's like Sarah Palin, like, yes, we need to. Okay, what are the talking points for my party? Oh yes, we need to drill. We need to send more troops to Iraq. We need to, being a parrot and just saying the exact same thing that the dude right above you said means that you're smart in the olden times. But the new times, and it's true. Like anybody who started a big company, like Bill Gates, or maybe it was even the Mark Zuckerberg, the kid who started Facebook, or the guy who started Apple. Like you name them, none of those people graduated college. They were just in there and they were a freshman, and then they started their business, and they're like, "Fuck this! I'm gonna drop out," because they were thinking out of the box, and it didn't work for what they were in. But so if you think out of the box and you're doing your own thing, like Christopher Columbus, anybody who makes a name for themselves, it wasn't because they were doing stuff the way that everybody else did. It's because they invented a new way to do it. Christopher Columbus was the first dude. He just sailed way out there in the sea. Nobody did that, but look what it got him. He came back with a whole bunch of gold. Marco Polo, he went and rode his horse all the way to China. Nobody ever did that, but what happened? He comes back 20 years and everybody's reading his book, and he's a hero, and he starts everybody traveling around the world. The guy who invented the Bible, nobody had ever done that, Or Martin Luther, he's like, fuck you, Catholic Church, I'm going to start my own thing, and then everybody's following him, Jesus Christ, actually, he's the first person. He got sacrificed. He got killed. Everybody called for him to be crucified. And they said, no, let Barabbas go. Barabbas was like this gangster who was traveling the countryside and lopping people's heads off. In the name of our God, I am Barabbas. They were like, oh yeah, let Barabbas go. He does stuff the way that we're used to. Fuck that Jesus guy. He's too much of a hippie telling you to turn the other cheek. What the fuck? Kill him. So they killed him. But then he ended up being the guy who everybody wanted to worship. So people know deep down, subconsciously, the right thing to do is. And so you just, yeah, so there's another pole shift, actually, in consciousness. So, yeah, we live in a world of paradox. And we always want to keep evaluating, because stuff is always, that's why like tripping mushrooms or acid can freak people out, or it can be a really cool experience, is because like it turns your brain on, and then you like analyze something, and then you realize it for what it is, and then you analyze it even more, and then you realize that it's the opposite of what you thought it was, because you see some aspect of it. It's like the yin and the yang. You have the yin and the yang, and the white thing always has a black dot in it. So you're looking at the yin and you're going, oh, look, it's white. Oh, yeah, look at the white, look at the white. Oh, look at the black. Wait, it's black? And then you look over there, and then you look at the white, and then it turns black. And then it gets all convoluted and switches, and then you're like, oh, shit. And then your brain explodes, and you freak out, and then you're a vegetable the rest of your life. Or, and you get freaked out, and then you don't ever want to take it again. Then you try to make it illegal so that nobody else can take it, because you don't want other people to freak out like you, because you think everybody's just like you. So it's better to just realize that that's what life is all about. The more examine you something, you realize that it has a unit of everything else in it. That's like everything. That's actually proof that everything's connected. You could look at the nicest guy ever, and you say, oh, he's the nicest guy ever. He's the nicest, Jesus Christ, the nicest guy ever, the nicest guy ever, because he went into the church and he gave people so much. Wait, what? He was screaming and yelling at people in the church and knocking over their tables. Wait, he's not the nicest guy ever. You could say anything about any. That's actually an interesting thing about Chile. You could say anything about a Chilean and say they're the most of this. They're the nicest people ever, but then you could say, wait, they're the meanest people ever. But you can say that about anybody. You just have to bring up an example. Like what if you meet somebody and you and they're Mr. Nice and they're nicest guy ever. But like one day and every 5 years they have a really bad day, and you happen to meet them on that really bad day. To you, they're going to be the meanest person ever. That's the paradox. There's always a flip side to everything, and that's what we need to recognize. But in order to recognize that, we have to see the whole picture. You can't just be a little unit colonel in your unit, in your little group of people, and then just hang out with your people and preach to the choir all the time, and like separate yourself from the rest of the world. Because then we're going to have all these units of separation, which then grow and then conflict, and then you have war, or cancer and stuff. So that's what I mean by paradox. We live in a world of paradox that constantly needs to be examined by everybody, not just by like one group of people. Because if it's one group of people, then they grow out in their own thing, and it's them, and they're different from everybody else. That's cancer, and I think that's why people have cancer these days. As soon as we all like accept each other and become tolerant and just like live our lives to our fullest, to ourselves and who we are, cancer one day is just going to go away. So yeah, we live in the world of paradox.